Hello, welcome to this lesson on discussing topics and ideas with other people, especially when you're in a business situation, a business meeting. Remember that yesterday we talked about the idea of using filler phrases to make small talk. So you can go back, watch that video. We talked about greeting, introduction, and using filler phrases, which are important because when someone asks you a question, like a native speaker, and you're trying to think of how to respond, you can start off your answer with a filler phrase, give you some time to think, answer, and then you can wrap it up with another filler phrase. So these are like filler phrases that you can use to discuss topics in a business situation. So let's take a look. If you want to present a new topic, what are some phrases you could say to discuss that? We have the first one. As far as da-da-da-dun is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the results are concerned, what we see here in the report, this, da-da-da-da-dun, and then you say what you want to say, right? Second one, in regards to, so we can say in regards to the results of the previous quarter, or regarding what you see here in the report, or regarding what we just saw if someone already presented something. So you could use that to present a new topic or to refer to something that was already shared, okay? So if you want to make a new point, the topic's already been introduced, you want to make a new point, you could say, in addition. Well, in addition to what we see here, we can also consider da-da-da-da-da, right? So the results show us this, but in addition, I'd like you to consider the fact that, and then say what you want to say. Additionally, so you can say additionally, it's important to remember that, and then you say what you want to say. Additionally, remember the fact that. So these are filler phrases, phrases that you can use in almost any situation before saying what you want to say. You could also use, instead of in addition or additionally, first off. First off, or in the first place. So you could say, first off, before we get into that, right? In the first place, so these could be used also to make a new point or even to introduce the main topic, all right? Because it's like the first thing you're saying, or you've already introduced the topic, but you want to start a new train of thought. So these are some simple filler phrases that you can use. To describe a general situation, you're referring to something that everybody knows about. Obviously, there are specific, things that have to be dealt with. But in general, this is how things are. So you can say, overall, right? Overall, we can see from the report that the results haven't been up to par, haven't been sufficient to meet our needs. In general, the numbers show us the fact that, and then you say what you want to say. As a whole, okay, so the company as a whole is facing difficulty because of our cash flow. So these are all phrases, filler phrases, that you can use before you describe a general situation. If you want to provide an example, so you could use for example or for instance. So let's think here. We say, in general, the results the previous quarter haven't been good. For example, you can see that this data point here shows that we were in the negative $20 million, right? I hope it's not in the negative, but just as an example. Or you could say, for instance. For instance, we see over here that this is happening. What if you want to throw out a contrasting idea? Your colleague says something and you don't agree, and you want to show the other side of the coin, right? They're saying this happened and you say, well, don't forget about this, right? So you could say, however, right? However, it's important to realize, or however, if you consider the fact that, so however is a good way to introduce a contrasting idea to something you and your colleagues are discussing. Although, okay, you brought up a good point. It is true that here we are in the negative, although, right, you're green, but it's important to realize, remember that we invested this month in advertising. Okay, so you're saying, yes, we're in the negative, but we're going to see the return later. So you're contrasting the idea of what they said with your idea on the topic. Or despite the fact that. So you say, despite the fact that we're in the negative here, it's also important to remember that, and then say whatever it is you want to say. We invested in opening a new company abroad, right? So you can use any of these phrases to contrast ideas that you're discussing with your colleagues. Modify a previous statement. So a statement was made, but you want to go back and modify it, change it. So you can say, well, actually, we said previously that we were in the negative, but actually, it's important to realize It's important to point out. So you could say, all right, you see here this. Before I said that, but it's important to point out that. So it's more like you're contrasting yourself. Whereas here, you're throwing out a contrasting idea. Here you could modify something that you said previously. Maybe you said it, but then you realize something else. Or else you said it, but you're also pointing out the fact that, there are other considerations. All right, so simplify a previous point. You made a point, you're in the negative, you explained it, it was kind of confusing, you want to simplify it, you could say, in other words, right, let me move out of the way here. In other words, right, in other words, so for example, let's say that it wasn't stated specifically that the company was in debt. You said, we saw over here that these numbers are showing that we're negative 20 million here, that this happened, that this happened, that this happened. And in other words, we have a serious problem to resolve. Okay? So you said a lot of stuff, many things have been discussed. Now you want to simplify it to make sure that everybody understands what that means. In other words. So, in other words, this is what's going on. Support a previous point, right? Somebody said this, somebody contrasted with that, somebody said something else, your other colleague modified it, and you want to support something that Joe said, right? So you said, after all, we have to remember that Joe pointed out this fact, or that fact, or whatever. So, after all is a quick filler phrase to introduce a topic and support something that was already said. Present a logical outcome. So after you've made your discussion, everybody's talked a lot, and if nothing's decided, things are going to get worse maybe. So you want to present a logical outcome. So you can say, therefore, or as a result. So therefore, based on this data, what we see here, if we don't do anything, then this could be the outcome, the negative result. Or as a result of our investment in this other company or this other franchise, we are in debt. So you're presenting the logical outcome. As a result of taking these steps, this would be the action. If we continue to invest, right, then something bad could happen. As a result of our investments in advertising, if we don't see a result, we might go broke. So, or not, maybe it's the opposite. As a result of investing all this money in advertising, our leads, our pipeline is full, we have lots of leads, and it's just a matter of time before the cash flow begins to roll in again. So there you go, a bunch of filler phrases for you to practice in a discussion with your friends. Quick review. As far as da-da-da-dun is concerned. In regards to, regarding, making a new point, in addition to, additionally, first off, in the first place. Describing a general situation, overall, in general, as a whole. Providing an example. For example, for instance. Throw out a contrasting idea. However, although, despite the fact that. Simplifying a previous point, modifying a previous statement. Actually, or it's important to point out. Simplifying a previous point. In other words, supporting a previous point. After all, presenting a logical point, therefore, as a result. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. If you have questions about the pronunciation, just go back, rewind there, those last few seconds to review, practice saying those words and phrases with me. If any of them give you trouble, go ahead, leave a comment below, let me know. We can talk about this in upcoming videos. Leave some comments as well. Choose some of these that you like and want to practice using. Make up some sentences in the comments below with your examples of using these phrases. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you around in the next lesson. Bye-bye.